Hey there, baseball fans. Welcome back to another edition of the Prep Baseball of North Carolina podcast. I'm Brandon Hall. Today, we're going to be split up a little bit, but with us now, we've got Aaron Reimer, Kyle Cadlub. Guys, internet famous. I'm sitting at events this week, and I'm hearing parents. There's that guy from that podcast, Kyle, recognized right out of the chute. How was it being internet famous there for an edition at PAS South?
It was awesome to see, the audience that we're reaching. And, I don't know if I was ready for that level of fame that fast, but, here it is. So it's just, keep going forward with this and keep having fun with it.
Reimer, anybody come up to you?
Tate Nelson gave me appreciate the shout out.
We did. Well, we talked about him. Obviously he deserved being talked about, and the shout out obviously was we talked good about him. So we try not to talk bad about anybody on these things, and so that was good to hear. Guys, we had a huge weekend. We from as a staff in totality, we had one event Friday, a scout day with GBC went really, really well. Those numbers, those stats, that information is starting to flow out right now. The younger group did a really, really good job in terms of kind of getting used to what's going on with events and things of that sort. Then we rolled into Saturday, where we have one of our biggest events of the year, the preseason All-State Central at Diamond Extreme. Ran through right at 90 players and some really, really high-level talent we're going to get into here. Turned the page to Sunday, and we went preseason All-State South after doing the ProCase. So Zach and I are going to talk about the ProCase a little bit later in this podcast, but for now, we're going to go through the preseason All-State South, the preseason All-State Central. Let's start chronological order. Let's start with the Central. Aaron, your first time being at that event and seeing that scale in terms of number of players, but then also the quality players, your overall impression of what happened there on Saturday at Diamond Extreme.
Yeah, my first one was Greenville, and I was like, man, this is where all the baseball players are. And now I roll over there, and it's like, good. There's more. I mean, they came in troves, and physical young men, just really more polished than I thought they would be. Great event.
It started with bullpen, so let's start there, and I'm going to work to share just my screen so we can kind of roll through the roster just a little bit. So we're going to go Central here, and just looking, let's go through the TrackMan numbers and look at some of the higher-end velocities that we saw in the day, and it was a good day. We saw a bunch of guys with really good arms, and you can scroll them all the way down here. Ethan Gilchrist at 85, and some of these guys are still ramping up, so there's still more kind of coming. First name top of the list. He had a really good day, and he was there for a long time because he did everything. Jesse Covington. Was that your first time seeing Jesse?
Yeah, he was really good, really good. Enjoyed watching him play. Good physical build. He was really good.
Yeah, long lane listed after we measured him, 6'2", 172. He's older for his class, but it's still a young face. It's still a young frame in terms of where the maturation has a chance to get to. On the mound, it's a little bit lower slot. It's a fairly clean line. There's still some polish that can come to it, but 91, 92 was in the zone. Slider at 25, 30 spin. Some snap to it, some late break. It's not going to be a comfortable at bat, and the ball's getting out of his hand in a hurry. And then we turn forward into the offensive stuff. The thing that I always look at when I'm looking at pitchers is, do they run, do they jump? And he ran a 3.6 in the 30, which we start talking about guys running sub-4 on the 30 on those lasers, it being a really good day. After we go through the athletic stuff, he jumps in the box and, not only is it high-end exit velocity, it was 101 miles an hour, but he also showed the ability to kind of continue to hit the barrel. So high-level athlete, performed throughout the day doing multiple things. We look at his full profile. I went to it. You're not going to see. We got him 13th in the state, 188 nationally. So not a hideout guy, just a guy that we haven't seen a ton of. But, he's on the board now. He's going to be in positions here as we continue to move forward to see if we can't get him. We'll go, is it 28s are future games. So, he's going to be in the mix for a future game slot. We'll continue to track these guys. But that board for future games is getting deeper and deeper. as we're kind of going through this.
One of the things I really liked about him was when he got on the mound, he still looked like a shortstop. You know, it wasn't a polished delivery. It looked like you just pulled your shortstop in the seventh inning to finish this game. And so he's going to get better. As he gets more polished on the mound, it's going to get real good. Him and Papsiak make a pretty good sophomore pair.
Yeah. So let's talk about Mikey. You know, Mikey's a guy that we've seen at some events here, and I'm going to see if I can't. P comes after LMNOP. That's not what I'm looking for. Let's go names. If you haven't seen our system, you're going to get an education going through it today with me. But Mikey's listed at 6'1", 173. Again, another dual guy, Dirtbags national guy. You know, and again, sub 4 right there, running 3.86, 92 across the infield, 89 from the outfield, and the fastball 89 up to 89.2. Slider, the spin rate on slider I don't think tells a complete story because it's more about abruptness and length, and you have both of those. So,
I've got very, very good slider written down.
Yeah, and it's watching those two. We also had Elijah Martin from Wesleyan Christian was there, another arm, big bodied, loose, kind of a sink slide guy. Didn't miss a ton of bats, I think, as a sophomore last year. Now going to his junior year, the stuff continues to tick up. So you've got 3 arms right there that are going to allow them to compete with just about anybody they're going to face. And as we kind of look forward into next week, the Power 25 is going to drop. So we'll be talking about next week the top 25 high school programs or high school teams in the state. As good as Wesleyan Christian is, will they be number 1? We may hint at that later in the episode as we go through some other players and some other teams and things of that sort. So 2 really good arms kind of right off the bat there. When we look at the velocities here, as we're kind of going through the screen, we look at 28, 27, 27, 28 with Papsiak. So, those 2 guys, potential future games guys, both top end of the board of this. A name for me that I did not know a whole lot about was Jason Kubik.
Yes.
Again, another dual guy, 6'3", 197, fastball up to 89.1. And then, I thought the bat played for him.
Yes. He walked in the cage to go to the mound. And I mean, this dude looked like you do not want to face him. I mean, he just had a look in his eye like, all right, I'm going to hurt this catcher in this bullpen. And then turn around BP and balls coming at him. Well, baseball, if you want to come my way, you're going to get punished. That dude, I wrote down, love this kid, everything about him.
Yeah, I got video of him throwing right here, and it's a muscular build. He's athletic. It's a little bit of a tapered waist. It's an easy delivery, easy rhythm. And now you go to the hitting and put this stuff together on him. I couldn't do this. I'm impressed when guys do this. I was a decent high school baseball player, but the way he's putting this day together, because this can be a long day and he's producing,
78.
It translates. And so he's going to be a name I think guys are going to want to follow as we continue to get into, where we're at with this class. I'm trying to get the volume cut down here.
He reminded me of the Zierman kid at Laney last year that just popped out of nowhere.
It's a good comp. Yeah, he's not. I don't think he's quite as bendy or as explosive in his lower half as
he's
Zierman.
Got another year though.
He's got another year. And you look at where Zierman was, and especially when he was really concentrating on being an offensive guy, and then where he got to when he really. I still don't think he concentrated on being a pitcher. He still thought of himself as a dual guy all the way through last year. But it's an interesting profile. That's an interesting comp. I like that one.
Yeah, and he turned out pretty good. Well, like I said, when he walked in, I was like, I want that guy on my team. Like he was there for a reason, and he's good.
Yeah, let's switch over. Obviously, we could go through every guy on this list, and Drew Gaddy was a future games guy with us. Was up to 88 from the left side. That is not a comfortable at bat. It's a lower slot. I don't want any part of that at bat. Jake Chompy. Again, 89, clean delivery, athletic. Ethan Gilchrist, we haven't seen Ethan in a while. Just battling through some things, and good to see him back in full go. He's got a strong body. Garner's going to be okay. Garner, with Kuvik, with Gilchrist, Their catcher, his name's slipping my mind, and I can see his face, but is a catch and throw guy. It's an interesting combination of guys that they put together there. The last pitcher we'll talk about real quick, and I'm going to share my screen again. It's a name that, Reimer, you and I have talked about in the past, and I saw you get a little bit giddy. I don't know if he threw on the mound you were really covering, but I saw you get a little giddy when he kind of got up there. C.J. Nixon.
C.J. Nixon.
He was he's the left-hander from Grace Christian.
Sick change up.
That's him.
Yeah, circled, and
that's him.
Yes, very. Yeah, the change up was. I had to go get some. Ginger ale?
Yeah, he's a freshman. It's 82, 83, bumping 84. Spin rate, has some carry through the zone. He spins his breaking ball. The changeup, he kills it. It's got fade. It's got hand speed. It's got deception. It was pretty easy. I'm going to show. This is the video from Junior Futures last year. And he's put on weight from here. He's gotten stronger. But it's a pretty effortless, pretty athletic deal. He's actually okay in a box. He's going to be a really good high school player in the field. I think the future's here, but again, he's just a baby. So, we're projecting him out because that's part of the job, but we reserve the right to be wrong as he continues to produce. So, like I said, top to bottom, just a really good event and seeing some of these names. Nicholas Trogdon, I actually played with his dad. He was 84. Nicholas is 6'2", 181. I think his dad was about that as a freshman in college, Northwest Guilford High School. He looks so much like his dad throwing, and his dad was a really good college pitcher. I think there's a jump coming here. He's got a brother that plays soccer at the Division I level, so it's an athletic family.
I think I saw Covington and Papsiak back to back, and then Keaton Larson and C.J. Nixon back to back.
Yeah,
and it's like, the 29s were really good left-handers.
Keaton, 2029 again, sub-4 runner. We saw him we get him up to 84. And it was easy. It was athletic. So, that was one of the things that stood out a lot throughout the weekend, and we can talk about it more after we get through the South. But it was that idea of kind of the young guys taking the lead on some of this, and seeing some of the 29s really jump out and perform at a very, very high level. As you guys are watching these guys, and I know from an evaluation standpoint, you're coming at it, as maybe from a little bit more of a coaching background, obviously, because of what your backgrounds are, but you're watching a young guy like that. What are some of the things that pop out to you when you see a 29 get on the bump? And are we just focusing on radar gun? Are we just focusing on spin? Or what is it you're looking for? And Kyle, we haven't heard a whole lot from you. I'll let you lead us on that.
Yeah. So, the big thing for me when evaluating pitchers, especially at that age, is, first you can kind of see what their frame is. Like, obviously they're going to be able to put on weight and fill in as they mature and they get older. But also you're looking for, is there room to grow? Like, is there, he might be 82, 83 as a freshman, and you look for certain things like, repeatability, is he clean? Some indicators of him being able to make that jump as he continues to progress through, his high school career. Those were just a few things when I was out on the road, pitchers is there a jump in there? And if there is a jump, how much?
Aaron, same thought process?
I'm still new to this, so I go straight back into, this kid can win you games right now at the high school level. I've had a bunch of really good arms that took 100 pitches, 4 innings. We've faced some really good arms. The guys that can pitch, and like I said, their off-speed stuff is really good right now for their age. These kids are not throwing it to the backstop. They're dotting fastballs, spinning changeups, sliders. Those are kids that you can put in a really good game right now, and they can compete and win. That's the big thing for me. You normally don't see kids that young that can face 7, 8, 18-year-olds and compete.
Yeah, we're doing our high school previews now, and you guys obviously went through your territories. I'm going to give you guys a chance to get to the end of this, talk a little bit about that. But one of the things I noticed on several teams as I'm going through all the lists and what the coaches said and what our notes say and what we're seeing on the players is there are a ton of guys, a ton of freshmen and sophomores being asked to play out of necessity, just because as we build more high schools, we split these guys up, there's more of a need. Whereas when I was coming through, you had 2 freshmen in the state playing varsity. Everybody else playing. It was just nobody played varsity as a freshman. It just didn't happen. And now we're watching. My alma mater, Millbrook, had a plethora of seniors last year. You fast forward to this year, and their majority of their lineup has been on JV for the past 2 years, and so they are extremely excited about what those guys have a chance to be. But there's also what's that reaction going to be to being on the varsity level, that tick up in speed, tick up in athleticism. Imagine, and I can't because I didn't do it, but trying to be a freshman and just navigating being at practice and having a coach that's, your school's coach. Oh my gosh, and trying to learn his ways. But, oh, by the way, opening week, you're going to throw Friday against number 5 team in the country or number 5 team in the state, because you're our best arm and you're our best option. That's what we're seeing out of some of these guys, and that baffles me a little bit. I know you dealt with it more than I have at the high school level, but what's that learning curve like for those young guys?
It's pretty big early, but one of the things that with the ability to basically practice, I mean, we always started practice the 3rd day of school. The guys that went and played other sports, good, great, go do that. That's fine. But for the rest of the guys, you can't just sit around. So, most programs in the state are going close to year round. So you got the state actually up to the 2 hours this year. You got 2 hours where in August, those guys are around the upperclassmen, the ones teaching them things. So by the time February rolls around, hopefully they've become more accustomed to it. They can really see how it's been done and, see what they can do. And they get in and get to compete earlier than when I played. The freshmen rolled out in February, and it's a shock. It's a shock, but that shock's kind of been taken away a little bit now with off-season workouts and the way the state does our high school coaches do a great job.
I completely agree with that, and it is a lot different. I mean, we had 4-man workouts when I way in the olden days, way back when I was playing. We did 4-man workouts, and I didn't know the upperclassmen. So even as I did get a chance to play varsity as a sophomore, I had played with some of the juniors, but the seniors were still, oh my gosh, that's a senior, and you're trying to figure out how to deal with just high school stuff, much less the baseball stuff. So let's move forward now to the hitters out of that. Now I'm going to start because I got really excited when I saw a couple of these guys that put up numbers, and 2 in particular. They topped the leaderboard here on the exit velocity. Yep, that's up. Just making sure that I got the right screen up. Brandon Lohr. Brandon is again, another Wesleyan Christian. So we're talking about a similar high school again. So these guys had a great day. It's a 27 corner infielder. And Brandon's deal for me has been the transformation of the body, the way he's moving, becoming a better defender and seeing that transfer. You're seeing a 7.6 here, and the quickness, what really wasn't there. But now all of a sudden we're running a 4.12 and we're trending. We're trending to run better. He's got better bend in his hips. He's got better leverage in his swing. So I'm going to, revert here to show just a little bit of video on kind of what we saw with him the other day. And Reimer, if you remember him, I'm going to let you kind of take over and just, talk about what you're seeing in the swing and, 105 mile an hour exit velocity. Pretty good.
Yeah. Big kid.
94.
Gets the most out of it. They kind of doesn't flow real well right now. Well, that one did.
Yep.
I guess early he was just getting into it. But, yeah, I mean, that's a loud stick. Wants to do damage. He kind of reminds me of the guy that stopping at first base doesn't do a whole lot of good. So, I didn't get to watch a whole lot of his.
You were on the other one.
Yep. But
yeah, and
I looked over a couple times.
It was loud.
Yeah.
You know, it's 105 max. It's 100 average, you know, and again, the way the average is computed, TrackMan's getting every fair ball that's hit. So the ball goes straight up in the air. Maybe it's fair. Maybe it's not. Maybe TrackMan didn't get that one. So it's a small sample size. Maybe it's 8 swings that are calculated. Maybe it's all 16 that are calculated. But the average at 100 really stood out. He's got some ball to barrel skills. He's not going to be asked to do everything for Wesleyan Christian. Obviously, they've got Covington. They got Papsiak. They got Cole Bowman. There's some other guys in the lineup there, so he's not going to have to do everything, and that may free him up to do a lot. And that he's got a chance to be kind of one of those scary guys. The thing I love, though, and what's the same thing I want to talk about with the next guy, is where they were and where they are. They're taking feedback. They're taking an idea of kind of what their bodies are telling them, what the numbers are telling them, and they're getting better. They're not going, oh, well, you know, these guys, if the numbers aren't what I wanted to see, it's because they're not doing it right. We get that from like 1%. We hear it every now and then. That's fine if that's what you feel. We're trying to present exactly what we see. We're trying as best we can to make sure the numbers are accurate. We're using the best tech equipment there is in the market. And these guys are taking it going, okay, I'm okay. I'm good. I'm playing in a good program. I can get better. And how do I get better? And the next one I'm going to talk about here, again, share my screen, is a little bit of one of my favorites just because of the work he has put in, but Giovanni Bacchino. Gio is now 6'5", 269. He has thinned out. He has gotten quicker. He was always a good athlete, even with the bigger body, and he always had some bend in his hips and some explosion. You know, again, you're seeing his run times trend. You're seeing him continue to get better. It's a snapshot. It's not who they will be. And so he's taking this feedback and getting better. And the one thing he can really do is he can swing it. We're going to watch some old video. The newer video is not up. So this is the border battle as we get into it. And you can see, I mean, there's some looseness, there's some leverage, there's decent turn. And when we look at his stats, you know, 105, 94 exit, 392 distance. I mean, every time we see him, it's 99, 101, 103, 105. This 105, you know, as Gio gets to be a senior, we may see 108s, you know, if we get him on the right day. So just, you know, and he's not my player. I'm not training him. I can't take credit for it. He's doing the work, but I'm extremely proud of watching somebody take the feedback and then go get better. And he was a guy that was hoping to be on the future games last year. We just roster-wise, it didn't work, and he's continued to go get better. So chip on his shoulder or just a hard work ethic or whatever it is, I'm excited to watch him. We're going to see him the first week in the county clash, Mecklenburg County versus Forsyth County. It'll be played in Kannapolis. I'm excited to see him live. But Aaron, as we're going through this list, any hitters that you kind of stuck out to you as we were looking through?
Gavin Gray. I don't know what his numbers were, but it was a barrel party in his BP. Everything was on a line. You know, it might not have, you know, had the big numbers like the other ones, but you want to just talk about a good smooth round. I think he sent invitations to the barrel party. It was good.
Again, decent mover. 397.30. The 60 is a little outdated, but 397 and 96.5, 88.6. So he's keeping those fairly close. You know, the thing for me on Gavin was just the body length. He's 5'11", 175. He looks like he's still going to grow. I mean, that's a baby face right there. 2028 USA Prime Coastal. Again, another West Forsyth guy. So, you know, sometimes, and we don't plan it like this. We kind of we didn't even talk about who we're going to talk about today. Just kind of pops up, and you're starting to see some trends on some of the high schools we'll be watching this spring. Go ahead.
I thought Brody Michelle.
Yeah.
I wrote down hits bigger than his size.
Yep.
He drove the ball really well to all fields. It wasn't just yank it, pull side, try to get a big number. I mean, he was gap to gap. Not a big kid, but like I said, he hits bigger than his size.
So we'll pull a video here from the fall, and you'll see what he's talking about. The swing is fairly similar now. There's some whip in there. It's a vertical bat, head stability, and he's on the barrel. What I love about Brody is this translates to game. What you see in BP is what you get in game. We don't always get a chance to evaluate that and see that, but there are some hitterish tendencies. You know, we love guys that get in there and there's uber bat speed. There's a ton of barrel and there's exit velocity, but it's the ability for us can he translate that into games? And there's that rhythm he has in BP translates. It's the same rhythm in games. He has that ability to kind of continue to find it. Again, another guy that, was on the cusp of kind of being a future games follow last year. We loved him, just, trying to find 25 guys. It gets really tight, trying to, and really only 4 outfielders that we're taking. So, bright future for Brody as we continue to follow him. As we finished this event, we left, we got home or our hotel. Some of us had a good time. Some of us just went right to bed. No questions. And then we came back the next morning. We had the ProCase. Zach and I are going to talk about the ProCase. We finished the ProCase, and whoever's designing the schedule of this thing is just an idiot because we finished it. We had to pack it up in about 15 minutes to get on the road in a pouring rain, drive to Mooresville, and we show up to Mooresville, Arena Lake Norman, our second year in this facility, gorgeous facility, Kyle. And you were there waiting on us, ready to unpack, ready to get going. We had about an hour to set up. We typically take a little bit longer. We're doing our best best we could to kind of get things structured and set as we went, but the players didn't flinch. Once we got rolling, it was off into the races, starting with the pitchers, then rolling into defense and BP. Your overall impressions of the South as we get ready to start kind of going through the roster.
Yeah, no, it was awesome coming up there. That was my first time being able to get to Arena, and like you had mentioned, it's an awesome facility. I know their staff helped us out. They did a great job. So I was super, super impressed with that. But yeah, as we rolled into the pitchers, kind of my initial overall reaction was there's a lot of underclassmen arms that are really good. Just seeing whether it's a plus pitch or, frame, projectability, super clean delivery. Each guy that we saw had something. They brought something to it. One of the names that jumped off to me really, really early was a 2029 Cole Christian. He got up and threw about 2 or 3 pitches before I looked down at the iPad, and just off the eye test, I was like, yeah, 83, 84. And I look down and I see, I think it was an 87 and 88. And then, it kept going up. But it changed again when I looked down at the roster and I was like, whoa, like this kid's a 2029.
Right.
Just super physical. I think he's listed at 6'2". That's going to be a guy as he grows into his body and can, 6'3" there. He keeps maturing. That's a guy we're talking about. His senior year is, could potentially be one of the better arms in the state.
Yeah, it wasn't just the mound either. The mound stuff came after his pop times. He threw a 196, 205. He's 80 out of the crouch, and it wasn't like he was crow hopping out of the crouch. It was a smooth, athletic release. Mm-hmm. Obviously there's some polish to come to the release and the arm action and where the body's going. He's still a baby, and there's some wavering a little bit and just his stability and trying to get. But for a 29, I mean, way ahead, and it's good that you see that wavering. It's not a real mature body in terms of it's done growing. It's 6'3". It's 190. He's going to be able to handle more weight. He may get to 6'4". He may get to 6'5". I don't know. We'll figure that out. But just what the body has a chance to do athletically is still growing. So, we saw the catch and throw. We saw the mound. You and I went and watched and talked about him while he was on the mound, going, holy mackerel, to 29. And then he got in the box, and after running a sub-4, and he's carrying, 90, 93 plus off the bat. So I haven't seen him enough to say this is where he's going to be and this is who he is as a player and this is how it's going to translate. I know he's a very good player and he's in my backyard, so I'm going to see him at some point this spring. I'm excited about that. I'm going to switch over here to TrackMan, and we're going to go through – let's go by class. So some of the 29s, we talked about Christian. Garrett Dietmeyer is a former junior future games guy with us, very polished, works pretty easy, ton of strikes. Ryan Joliffe moved was pretty easy. Kirkland is a fairly athletic guy. I think he's a CBA guy. He is a CBA Orioles guy. High Point Christian Academy. They've got a couple freshmen with him and Witten Butler, who was at the Central event They're going to be pretty good. Did you see? You did not have Colton. Oh, I'm going to screw the name up. Pedinato.
No, I did not. I didn't have him on the mound.
You know, we start seeing again Metrolina Christian, a team that's got a chance to be in our Power 25 as we release that on Monday. You know, it was a guy again that we've heard some things about. We knew about him. 85 across the infield. He's a good mover. It is a very youthful frame. He's going to get stronger. 5'11", 143. And then on the bump, you know, 83, 85. And it was athletic. It's not as scary at bat now because he's a 29. But, you know, as easy as it works, I mean, it's one of those things you go, man, I don't know where the ceiling is. We'll figure that out in the next couple of years. I want to watch. You know, another 28 or 29 that kind of jumped out to you.
Yeah, right there. You went right to him, Duncan Carver. I was really hoping you were gonna click on that because that was another guy. It's a super clean delivery and you know, a good frame in 6'3", and you know that's another guy in the Asheville area that's he's going to give fits to a lot of the good teams out here.
He is.
But that was another guy. Even as a 28, I was just super impressed with him.
Yeah, and Duncan Carver, right-handed pitcher, AC Reynolds, obviously got a chance to be a home game for you. He's in the middle of basketball season too, so he's. You know, I don't know that we talk about that. So I think sometimes that little rest and then some adrenaline flow at these events, we start to see closer to who they really are. You know, they don't have to be ramped up all that much to throw 12, 15, 18 pitches. But it's the ease at which he does it. And we know Duncan. We had him with us with the team in North Carolina at the East Coast Super Sophomore Games. You know, they're going to be played again this year in August. We'll be taking 29s to Richmond to play against other teams from the East Coast. But, you know, it's fastball command, it's fastball feel, it's pitch ability. Oh, by the way, the slider's good and the fastball has some ride and beats bats. So it's not just the pure stuff with him. Some of it's just the athleticism and how it works out of hand, and then how it plays versus the hitter. We all like the velocity number. Velocity is going to allow you to make some mistakes. We all like spin rate numbers. But when you watch him, again, that eye test you talked about, he looks like he's working 84, 85, and then you look down and go, oh, you know, it's really 88, and the hitter's playing it like it's 93. And so the development on him, I like where the body's at. It's 6'3", 188. He's going to get stronger. He's doing other sports right now. You know, there's a high ceiling to what he has a chance to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there was just real quickly, I was peeking over at, he was on the other mound. Sean, I believe it's Rotosiler. Too bad.
Well, I messed it up the entire day, and he was a point of emphasis for me. But I'll let you go first.
He was a guy. Like I said, he wasn't on my mound, but as a left-handed pitcher, I really enjoy watching other lefties throw, and that's about as clean and smooth as it gets. And you know, again, he's another 2028 guy, and it's really going to be interesting to see how, again, this continues to develop, because it's already there. Now it's just a matter of, you know, making small, finer changes that are going to make some big differences for him.
So this video is from August, and from this video to where he is now, there's been a jump just in terms of body feel. This one is from early in the fall. And again, you can start to see. I had somebody talk to me about the way he finishes and the little recoil he has. I think it's because he's a powerful athlete. I think he's trying to figure out how to control the speed he's got going down the mound. That's going to come as he continues to get strong. But you can see it's an athletic build. There's strength in the lower half. You know, we saw him at that Top Prospects games in August last year, and I was blown away by what the ceiling has a chance to be. You hate to put that on a player, but I'm okay saying it out loud because of what he's done from August to now. You know, he's on the right track in terms of potentially getting to that ceiling. And you know, the other fun part about him is you come down here, it's 97.5 in August. I don't know what he was. I don't have that in front of me in terms of what he was at this event the other day, but the bat's got a chance to be loud, especially at the high school level. I think the pitching stuff's going to be ahead of the hitting, but it's hard to find guys that can hit. So Chase Kiker is a good example. Chase he's a pitcher. Get to his senior year, and the pro guys are going, he may be able to hit. He's competitive. He knows where the barrel is. There's good enough bat speed, and he's competitive, and he finds it, and he's competitive. I think Sean may have a little bit of that in him. And so I'm excited. Again, home game for me, Davidson Day School right down the road ish. Just, super, super high ceiling in terms of kind of tracking where he's got a chance to be. And I'm comfortable saying that just because of the work he's already putting in. So, again, we could go through this list. Dylan Rodkin threw well. Owen Shirey threw well. Zach White was up to 86. We've seen him a little bit better, but I love what he was doing. Colby Epperly is kind of an intriguing, uncommitted senior. So the left-hander was 81. It's a bat first. He's a good mover, straight ahead run speed. I think the bat's got a chance to play, at different levels of baseball. If he's deciding on where he's going to go to school, maybe he's got a chance to provide some depth as a duel as guys are trying to figure out their rosters. We go to the hitters, Kyle, and obviously you were on one cage. We're diving into the numbers now. I'm going to start with one I know you had, and it's one I know fairly well. That's not what I want this. I want class. We're going to go to a 28 who has been with us. Do I see him? If I don't see him, we got an issue because I got to go back in and figure out why his stuff's not populating. IJK. I don't see him. There he is. Levi Kerr. I can't spell, apparently. It's been one of those days. But Levi Kerr, he's a quote-unquote famous guy. I mean, he's been on a national team. He plays on a national – like when I say national team, Team USA. He's a quarterback at Marvin Ridge. He played varsity. It's not a hideout name. But when those guys show up to our events and then put on the display they put on, as many good players as were rolling through your cage, this one was different.
Yes. Yeah, just, as you can see, the sheer size at 6'4", and, it's one thing, 6'4", but the athleticism that came along with it was super impressive.
We look at his stats, 102 off the bat, carried 89. I thought it took him off the machine 4 or 5 pitches to kind of get it rolling. His second round, his probably average exit velo was probably closer to 94. I mean, every ball that second round came off. He's a good mover in short spaces. This is trending. I mean, you can see the 7.49 now, 4.15. I think this is going to be 6.8 by the time he's a senior. He's going to just the way he's trending. But again, he's not a guy that trains for these types of events. He's always on the field, whether it's football or baseball. He doesn't have a whole lot of just downtime just to be in the weight room or just to be training on movement aspects. He's playing. And so trying to find that balance for him, I think that's a good thing, because when he does get to that point, whether it's, senior year or into his freshman year or wherever he's at, that's going to come very quickly because of how athletic he is.
Mm-hmm.
Any guys you've had in your past that kind of mimic the guys you've played against or seen just come to mind as you're seeing 6'4", 195, left-handed bat, chance. I think he's got a chance to play in the middle of the field eventually. I know he sees himself right now as playing a little bit more third base, but I think the is going to get him in the middle. Any names that kind of come to your mind? Not to put a comp on him, but just somebody that sticks out to you.
Yeah, there was actually a guy I played with in high school, was very kind of similar to that left-handed bat. He played outfield, but very similar kind of build and put together. Overlapped with him a little bit. His name was Ben Gamble. Ended up having, I believe he's on a minor league contract now, but he's put together a pretty impressive major league career. So, again, like you said, not to put a comp on guys, but there was a lot of very similar traits just from those two guys.
One other name that kind of stuck out for me, and again, I'm seeing some of these guys. There are a lot of really good players, but Harrison Mears rolled through your cage.
Yes, that was the guy I had marked down. This was the second time I've seen him. I believe I saw him once in the fall in Ashboro, but kind of a little bit of a do-it-all guy. Like he gets behind the plate. He's super athletic behind the plate with some really good, clean actions, and then you see him in the infield, and he moves well in the infield. And And then he gets in the cage, and it's a compact, quick swing, and a lot of hard contact from what we saw there on Sunday.
Yeah, and it's flat. I mean, he's done a good job kind of grooving his swing, and the videos from this event will be up probably in the next 3 or 4 days. But we saw him this fall in Asheboro. The swing he's actually into his legs a little bit more now. He sits down in them, but it's flat. There's some barrel whip. There's strong hands. He's a tough out. It's just the way he kind of approaches. It's a bulldog mentality in the box. He's not going to get cheated, but he also knows he has good barrel feel. I love the fact, and I'll let both you guys speak to this. Let's start with Aaron at the high school level. You take a guy, he can catch, he can play the infield, he can play the outfield. The bat's got a chance. He's a top 3 or 4 bat no matter what year he is in high school in terms of he needs to be in the lineup. From a high school level first, what type of versatility does that give you in terms of putting your best offense on the field and your best winning potential on the field?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge because, you've got certain kids that can't play certain positions. And then so you've got to kind of mark them off and figure out how to get them into the game. And then, you're comparing 2 players. Well, a kid like Mears, he's compared to all 9. He gets in and always gets in.
Yep.
And Coach Sochfer over there, I swear South Brunswick has like 6 guys just like him. They would fight their mother to get to first base. I kid you not. That dude does a great job. His son Grady,
very good player.
Him and Mears are could be identical twin brothers if you're playing them. They're tough.
I saw them at spring break 2 years ago, and those 2 guys were young guys, and they had a guy on the bump that was pretty good. I think he took a no-no into the 5th or 6th against an ACC arm. It was just their competitive level in the box. I mean, they're facing a guy that's got put away stuff, and he couldn't put him away. They would just battle and run the pitch count out, run the pitch count. And when you made a mistake, bang, they were on the barrel.
Yeah.
But I mean, every inning was 25, 33 pitches. And it just wears on you after a while. Kyle, from
I ever been.
Oh, that's why you're with us now.
Yeah, I think we were way more talented than them in quite a few years. It didn't matter to them guys one bit.
Yep, they do a good job. Kyle, from a college standpoint, trying to put together, your college roster, versatile guys versus the numbers on the roster. How does that work, and how important in the recruiting aspect is it?
Yeah, I mean, Brandon, you've been there. At the end of the day, if you hit, we'll find a spot for you. So being able to kind of plug and play guys in different positions and not have to worry about them, they're going to produce offensively, but you don't have to sit there and question, man, is this guy going to be a liability for me in the field? It is huge. And being able to play multiple positions at this level goes a really long way with a lot of college coaches because, you're not pigeonholed into just recruiting an outfielder or just recruiting an infielder, and I'm sure you've been through it as well. Like every infielder in college played shortstop at their high school,
Right.
You don't recruit shortstops, you recruit athletes. And a lot of guys, get to college and they struggle with being able to be, it kind of interchangeable and adaptable. And the guys that are able to make that adjustment the best and the quickest are the guys that usually are going to play the longest.
We always did a deal and exercise in our office where, you're starting to go through, you get through the fall, we do it at the end of the fall, and you do it in the preseason, and you do it about 2 weeks out, and you do it week of. All right, who are our best 9 hitters? And now, you get into the fall and you're doing this, you have time to kind of redirect some guys here and there. We're going to get him some reps at first base. Alex Burt for us played at Wakefield High School. I actually played for my dad at Wakefield and then came over to us. He was an outfielder in high school. But as we got into his sophomore and his junior year, he was really athletic. He had just never played the infield. And we needed him in the lineup. But he wasn't one of our better outfielders. So how are we going to do that? Alex, here's a first baseman's glove. And then we gave him 3 weeks. And he became a really, really good defensive player after about, 6 months. But we were willing to eat the defensive stuff early on to get the offense that we were going to get. you can't always do that, but we always go into the year, how can we get our best 9 guys in the lineup? About 2 weeks in, after you've booted about, you're feeling about 930 instead of 970, you go, screw that. What is our best defensive lineup? How can we get that? The players that have the advantage are the players that have the chance to be the best defensive player or the second best defensive player at multiple spots, and they're one of the best 9 guys in the order. That guy's going to be on the roster. That guy's going to be on the lineup. We're going to find a way to get him in, and then we can mix and manipulate and get him around. So, why do we recruit shortstops? Because typically we can move shortstops. We can move them to third, we can move them to second, we can move them to first, we can move them to the outfield. They're not going to freak out. They've kind of done all that stuff. They've caught a pop-up. They've made a throw across the diamond. Hard to move a first baseman to shortstop. So the more defensive flexibility you have, like Harrison, where you can catch, play the infield, you can play the outfield. Now, as a coach, I'm sitting there going, okay, that's one roster spot, but does that one guy allow me to bring another pitcher? Does that one guy allow me? Is he my extra catcher? If we're really elite ahead of him as catching, he's my third. We're in really good shape if he's my 3. And now, Harrison, you're going to spend 80% of your time playing second base, playing third base. You're going to spend 10% of your time in the outfield, and then you're going to catch 5 bullpens a week. And then that way, when we get to the next year, now you're our best catcher. Hey, we're going to spend 80% of our time catching, and the rest of our time we're going to spend at third base. And he's adaptable to that. And so that's where the upside on him comes.
Yeah.
And at the college level, you don't know who's going to be there next year.
Now you don't. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even, they're recruiting.
Even at high school level.
Yeah. But like I remember at Catawba thinking we had our outfield set, and here rolls in Jerry Sands. And it's like, yeah, okay. One of y'all's getting moved to DH.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Or the DH is set. And there's only one, but there is one. That was always our saying is, hey, man, there's only one DH. And then we had a guy one year said, yeah, but there is one. Yeah. And I'm going to be in the lineup.
I was the guy that we had an All-American designated hitter, and Jerry Sands rolls in, and it was like, hey, coach, I played first in high school.
That's right.
I lied to him to his face, but I knew if I wanted to hit, I had to figure it out.
And yeah, give me 2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks. I'm just a little rusty. I'll figure it out. I'm just a little rusty. Hit me another ground ball.
Yep.
You can do that. So, guys, it was a great weekend. I had a blast because you guys did a tremendous job helping to run it, so I could actually be with the players and I didn't have to deal with the tech and each individual cage and things like that. I was able to float and talk to guys. So I appreciate the work you guys did. I'm going to bring Zach on here in a minute and talk a little bit about the ProCase, but one final thought on the as we're getting ready to go into the high school season. Again, high school previews are going up on the website now. We've done 1, 2, 3, and 4 regions 1, 2, 3, 4. So basically the eastern side of the state, if we had information, we've put that preview out, and then the Power 25 is coming out early next week, along with some other things, getting us ready for the high school season. Aaron, real quick, give me something you're looking forward to at the high school season.
I'm just ready to see guys compete against other guys. That's the fun part. I love the showcase, the indoor baseball, all the metrics is fun, but competition, I love it. Kyle, what you got?
Yeah, no, kind of to build on that, it's cool to see what these guys can do, in a cage. But for me as a coach, it was always cool to see how can we take what we've done in the off season and apply that to games, and seeing guys get better over the course of a couple months or over their careers in high school. As a coach, it's one of the best feelings you can have is seeing these guys that busted each and every day, see that work pay off.
Well, guys, I appreciate you jumping on today. We're going to fast forward now and head to a pre-recorded deal. I'm going to try and splice and merge this thing together. We'll see how my technical skills are, but we're going to bring on Zach Borowski. So, guys, I appreciate you jumping on. We'll see you at the field.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
See you Sunday.
Baseball fans, we're back. I know we're transitioning a little bit today, but we're welcoming in one of our scouts. A guy who has a little bit of a background as we're going to get ready to talk about the Middle Carolina ProCase. Here is Zach Borowski. Coach, how are we?
We're good. Finally done with the events. It was kind of hectic couple days, 4 events in 3 days. A little bit of travel, a little bit of a toe issue on the last event, but we got through it.
We did it. I don't know that we'll ever do it like that again, but one of the highlights of the entire preseason package is, for this, I think it's the 7th year we've run our North Carolina ProCase at Diamond Extreme in Kernersville, North Carolina. This one's a little different. We're putting it together. Typically we're setting some of these dates 9 months in advance, and I'm looking at high school schedules, but I didn't even think to look at Division I baseball schedules. And lo and behold, opening weekend happened to fall the same weekend right before the high school season starts, which very, very, very rarely happens. I can't remember it happening to us before. And so we didn't know if any pro guys were going to show up, even though the roster was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was kind of I'd called a couple buddies, and I knew a checker or two might be in town, but I didn't think many area guys were coming. And then the monsoon happened, and every team in the country decided to move the games up. And then you look like an absolute genius, because I think every team might have been there.
We had over 30. And it was one of those deals, we wouldn't plan it that way, but it worked out really, really well. They needed somewhere to go. We had a lot of talent in one building, and, we get the day started. We roll right into the pitching, just like we typically do. We schedule this thing out because we know pro scouts have other places to go. They have a lot of things on their mind. It's like us as we're getting ready for the high school season. We want to see 30 teams on day one. It's just not physically possible to be everywhere, but we know they're trying to get out and be places. So bullpens, hitting, and then, the running and the defense and things of that sort. If they need to get out, they can get out and go somewhere. We try to have them out of the building no later than noon. We try to be done with most of the things that they really want to see by 11, and so they can get to a game. Our bullpens right out of the chute, we had some big arms throwing, and guys put up some really good numbers.
Yeah, I think, when you look at it, you're never really sure where they are in their pitching routine, how many pitches they're supposed to throw, what intensity they're at. We've had some guys just come there and touch 85 and throw a touch and feel, and we're like, what are you doing? And then, a lot of these guys seem to kind of get a better feel for it now. I think they understand, especially when we start inviting the 27s and they kind of see and they're kind of coming back. They kind of know where they need to be for it. But, I think it was a very good overall event. It doesn't always have headliners, but somebody's always going to steal the show, and that happened really quickly.
Yeah, and I think it's a great point with the 27s. We talk about, why are the 27s there? These guys are doing a lot of work on the 26s, and it's the fact that, they get a feel for what's really going to be happening to them, one, and then two, it starts the process for East Coast Pro, which, for us, we're watching these high school guys come through this system, from 8th grade on. We've got a pretty good idea of who they are. We have a pretty good idea of who we need to see and who we want at certain events and guys we need to see more of. For the pro guys, they hear names, but they're really so dialed in and so myopic on the one class they're getting ready to go through the draft with, that ability to kind of see some of these guys, so that when they do run into them in the spring, they can start marketing them and getting them ready for that next summer, which is kind of their big jumping off point.
Yeah, we always want to try and get as many good players in at once. Sometimes you want to cross off people, and sometimes you got to cross on people. And I know that'll make no sense, but to us it does. You got to put that guy on the list. I got to go see that guy now. Some names, one, I'll say Dylan Stacks, you got to go see him now.
Right.
Up to 93, the dude looks like an absolute bodybuilder. I think he would have won the bench press contest if we had a combine. Now you got to go. He put himself in a position where you're going to the coast to go watch him throw.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's start running through the roster a little bit. I'm going to present my screen here as I can kind of get it ready. And the first bullpen that we threw was kind of a guy that kind of jumped out at us and really, I thought elevated who he has a chance to be. Nick Rumbley. Nick's from Rockingham. Yep, Rockingham County High School, played for the Dirtbags, listed at 6'6", 246. And right out of the chute, we get a loud bullpen, kind of sets the day off, and we're off and running.
Yeah, I saw him earlier, and I didn't see the velo. I saw the pitchability. I saw the funk. Yeah, I saw he's going to break a lot of wood bats guy. And then all of a sudden, the 2 showed up, and it stayed. And then as you and I were talking, it was this – controlled 5-pitch, 4.5 pitch mix. I don't really can't remember all the. I think there was 5.
He threw a bunch.
And then he threw because he shaped in a curveball towards the end. It was just really good and controlled, and it's like he's been there for 10 years. He was wise beyond his years on how he threw. He didn't stress. He didn't overthrow. His hat really kind of stayed on. You kind of look at a like this. My man's hat never moved. And, it was just fun to watch. I'm sure there's going to be a day where he's going to touch a 4 or 5 in front of somebody really important, and they're going to have to start making some decisions on a guy like that.
I'm trying to pull some video on him here real quick because I was a little bit shocked. Again, I had seen him. He's a strike thrower. He's got really good feel across the board. It's sink. Again, I hadn't seen the velocity somewhat like you, but it was his body control. And we can see it's really good lines. It's a lower slot. There's solid, at least average right to it. It's heavy sink. And then the slider's coming out of the same spot as that fastball. And then the ability to throw change up in the zone, to throw curveball in the zone. I think he messed with, it may have been a kick or a split. He may have thrown a cutter. Everything he threw, the lines were good. The release was good. There was hand speed. I thought Nick did a good job and was kind of one of the big winners of the day in terms of the 26 class going, okay, here's something that's definitely, guys are going to have to go back in and see and kind of figure out where he's at because he looks the part, 6'6", 243, solid mover down the line. There's a lot to like with the package he put together.
Yeah, I mean, the frame is the key. You want starting pitchers to look like that. It is the prototype starter body. The next thing for a guy like Nick is going to be, does the 88-92 stay for 4 to 5 to 6 innings, or do we start 90-92 and then settle 86-90? Then that kind of changes some things. But if he can hold with the pitchability he has, I mean, there's going to have to be a lot of people that are just going to see him because somebody's going to sync up on his metrics, whether it's somebody that loves extension, somebody, that wants the low release slot. There's going to be some team that really likes what he does. Yeah.
Up to 92. The breaking ball spinning close to 2,300, slider close to 2,300. There were different pitches. Obviously, you can see the velocity profiles, different pitches. It was a good day. Another arm for me, you talked a little bit about Dylan Stacks. Dylan was up to 92.4. And again, he looks the part. He's around the zone. He's a guy that's kind of developed, and we've been able to watch him progress. He was a guy that went with us to senior future games, was still uncommitted as August rolled around going into his senior year. Played really, really well at Lake Point, got a chance with UNC Greensboro, has got a chance to go on campus and do some things early there. The arm moves well. The body moves well. It's efficient. There's reasons to believe there's more jumps coming. Who else did you have that kind of separated themselves as you were watching the bullpens from behind on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm going to go. I mean, obviously Quinn O'Rourke. I mean, we had seen him before, and it was kind of intriguing. And now it's really intriguing. It is every bit of a pro prospect. 90 touch, 94.8, multiple 3,000 spin rate breaking balls. I mean, it just jumps. I mean, there's some effort in it, which is fine. A
lot of effort in a lot of guys nowadays.
He's fine. My man is a chance. And, you look at all these things and you're just like, oh my. I do think the 3,000 spin rate fastball might have been a glitch. It might have been me on the track, man. My bad, bro. So,
he's going to get a chance. Guys are going to be in there to see him do it again, and trying to figure out kind of where he sits. I'm going to see if I can't switch the video here now that I found, what's going on with him. We'll remove that one. And for me, the biggest part of where his prospect has gone was it's the ability now where he can throw the stuff in the zone. And he's got brothers that have been through the system, playing at high level places. So when he made this velocity jump last year, one of the things I think people get lost on is this idea that, hey, we're going to make the velocity jump and we're going to maintain all this feel and touch, and it just doesn't happen. So there was times last year where he was spraying the ball a little bit, but you can see this is a short clip, and we're cherry picking some pitches, but this personified what the bullpen was. He's not elite command, but he's around the zone. It's solid lines. He's in the zone with things. He's able to do some different things and manipulate how he's attacking with those pitches. The fastball and the breaking ball are coming from similar areas. I wouldn't say they tunnel, but they're similar areas. But the breaking ball has hard downer action. It's going to allow the fastball, if it wants to, and he can learn to ride it through the top of the zone. And anytime you've got a high school guy that's, was it 94.8 I mean, it was almost 90, 94.8. Average spin 31.29. The ball, the movement on the ball didn't reflect the spin, so it's something. There's still stuff there that can be worked on. The breaking ball, again, 3,000 spin, and it was a good breaking ball. But I think with that type of spin and rotation, there's going to be an ability to kind of clean it, make it more efficient, make it a little bit later dive to it. So again, you're talking about a guy that was on the radar that comes out and has this type of performance, and he was a guy that came to the one last year and kind of got his feet wet with what this was. And now he was really relaxed, really comfortable. And you can see all the scouts in the background, and when he threw, it got really quiet in the building. We've talked about that in years past. There's just a natural noise in that building of people kind of sitting together and you're watching and things are going on. But when this guy gets on the bump, I mean, it was eerily quiet there for a couple pitches as guys were really trying to dial in on him.
Yeah, I think, for him, he actually has multiple profiles too. Like, we had a guy when I was at Fuquay named Daniel Egan, kind of a guy that late bloomed and absolutely took off. He might have a chance, to be a reliever, in high school, which, sounds crazy, but he might be able to be their backhand guy, get him 5 innings, win a lot of games, or he's going to be able to start for him. Like, he has the ability, because of this stuff, to have multiple roles. And when you have guys that can have multiple roles, like, it works out really well. I think overall, like, this pitching profile is a power profile. So it won't surprise me if you hear a 7 when it's warm outside. Like, it has a chance to really be an elite level fastball up in the zone.
Yeah, a couple other names just as we're rolling through. We're going to talk about John Hucko in a few minutes. The pitching part of what he does is really intriguing. At 27 now, he was up to 92.8. It's not a real polished. It's an athletic arm, it's an athletic delivery, but it's not extremely polished. But there's a reason, because I think this is kind of the side job. I don't know if he thinks of it that way, but for me it is, and it's still, if he shows up on campus at Auburn, I think he's going to be a dual. I think there's going to be pro teams that have to make a decision on how they're going to use him. Are they going to try to maintain possibly him being a dual, or is it going to be hit first, and if the hitting doesn't work out, then we can roll back to this. He's got a lot of upside, just because I think for what the profile is and what he has a chance to be, you can track both. And so, that risk of having a guy like this, whether it's on the roster at Auburn or, in a pro system, the risk is diminished because he's got upside in 2 different fields. What'd you see on John?
Yeah, John, you about killed me. Like, let's just go ahead and start off with this. I told B. Hall this was the first time I'd ever been worried throwing batting practice that somebody hit a ball and I didn't move in time. Like, the ball hit the screen and then I moved. So congrats, you're the first guy to ever do that to me. The barrel feel was unmatched, on the mound. It's so loose that, like, if you were to tell me he lets one loose and it's 95, I'd be like, okay. Like, I would just shake my head and agree with you right then and there. The arm is so loose that sometimes it drags, sometimes he gets behind, but it's like he don't work on it all the time, I'm assuming. Like, I think he likes to hit. I mean, if you look at those hitting metrics, like, thanks for playing, bro. Like, that's as impressive a hitting metrics as any 27 around. And, like, when you watch it, it's just such an effortless. It's no real there's no real uphill tilt. Like, it is just line drives. And, like, being a BP thrower, I do not want to throw to you. Like, it is. I hope we miss each other for the next 2 years, and I hope you have the most successful career. But that was a scary time for me throwing to you.
Yeah, he was good in a multitude of different ways. The other guy we can briefly touch on, Griffin McCain. This is 3 guys from Charlotte Catholic. At the ProCase, when you look at the actual pure physical stats, 89, 85.9, 85, 89, that's not a standout number at the ProCase, but it's the build, it's the lean look, it's the efficiency of the arm path, it's the athleticism, and then plus, and I gotta scroll to it here. He's a 6'6" runner. This is one of those ones where you're looking at him now going, hey, in a year from now, 89 might be 94. And we can really do some projection on where he's got to be. And he doesn't have to be in a rush to get there because it's so efficient and so athletic now. Guys are going to take notice. He's not a hideout guy. These aren't numbers that we're seeing and nobody else is. It was a pretty loud bullpen, even though it didn't have the flashy ultra high velocity.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like in terms of control delivery, he might have like set the tone on that there. Like there's no effort. He knows he's got arm speed. He knows he has good lines. He knows how to pitch. You kind of have that, you crafty lefty, but he's not that. But like crafty lefties know how to pitch. Well, this guy knows how to pitch with stuff. Like that changes things dramatically and in a hurry. I think long-term wise, like you get these guys that run 6'6", 6'7", usually their fastball hits a 5 somewhere along the way. Whether it's 2 weeks from now, 6 months from now, I've never met many guys that are that level of athletes with that arm speed that don't. So I expect them to continue the trend of that.
Well, as we talk about those two guys, obviously that Charlotte Catholic, those two. You've got Cooper Gornett at short. You got Brady Marconi. Let's lead back into that. So another Charlotte Catholic guy at the ProCase, Brady Marconi. As a catcher that we had at the future games, kind of a catch and throw first guy. Athletic in the bat. It wasn't lagging. It just wasn't up to the par of where he was defensively. He's made some adjustments. He's put on muscle mass. He's gotten stronger. Your initial thoughts on seeing Brady and the I wouldn't newfound power, I guess. I mean, the ball was jumping off his bat.
Yeah, I'm going to not lie. I was on the Brady train last year. I've been on the Brady train a while. I've always thought he had power because I always thought he used his leverage well. Well, my man put on like 30 pounds of muscle and looks like a tight end. Like he is massive and he could still move. Like when you go look at his run time, like it was still a really good run time. In terms of the power, you and I kind of talked about it a little bit. He kind of had that, he has that weird little hand load, and it's on time. At some point in time, it might clean up a little bit. But when he times that thing up, I mean, you're looking 105 and 400, and he didn't break a sweat. And I'm not sure he even got all of a baseball yet. The BP guy might have been a little 50-50 sometimes. I ain't sure that, like, he was making me look better than maybe the pitches were.
I'm gonna show the video here and kind of let you see what you're talking about with that hand load. And it's one of those things I talked to a couple guys about afterwards. There is a way we would like guys to hit. There's a way we would like to see guys and everything that they're doing. And then sometimes there are just ways that work. And right now this is working for him. And if you go and really one of the things that you guys build history on and watching is how do swings develop? How do they grow with the body? And we can see how he's made adjustments to his swing over the last 2 years with being at the ProCase, being at the future games, being at some of these other places the pro guys have traveled and followed. And so, he's getting to a stable position. You called it kind of a cast load. He's got a hand action in there. He's got a trigger in there. The bat's fairly stable. He gets to the top. Watch his head and watch how direct he is. Even on a ball he's not perfectly on time for, he's still creating a lot of leverage through it. So, it was one of those outings that was kind of eye-opening for me in terms of what we think had a chance to happen is starting to come, really quickly. Now, catching is a risky draft proposition. There are a ton of really good guys in college. I would think guys will be into seam, obviously. I would think that, unless he's just really, really has to sign, I would think he ends up in college just for a little bit more polish, a little bit more maturation. But there's a chance there now that he continues to get better and makes an impact at College Charleston very, very early on.
Yeah, I mean, the benefit he has, he's got pro arms. So people are always going to be there regardless. Like, he's got a chance to, if he hits some balls, gets on some good arms early, he's going to have a chance to – he's got the best chance to hype himself up. And what I mean by that is get some helium – because there's going to be guys that don't always know him. And so when you have guys that don't always know you, that whole track record where I've seen him swing for a couple years, and this is a guy coming in with a brand new opinion, he might put 2 balls in the Narnia over the trees, and, like, he's got that kind of power that they're going to start asking different questions. And, as he receives well, I think this catch and throw, as he's gotten a little more physical, it's kind of slowed down a little bit. But he still has plus arm.
Yep.
And, he still has absolute massive hands and crazy hand strength. He can catch any guy. So now it's going to be, high school catchers are hard. Like, being a former pro scout, like, high school catchers, like, there's a risk to them, and there's a reason why there's a lot in the first 3, and then there's a big gap, and then there's some maybe a little bit later in the draft. Like, there's just there's certain numbers that they work for, and there's certain numbers that don't take them. And you never know. Like, as I said, like, he hits 5 to 10 homers early in the season when people come in to see those two arms. He's going to put himself in a position to have to make a decision.
Right. Yeah. And one of the things with you talked about the body, and, you know, it's not necessarily the quickness we saw maybe when he was a little bit earlier in the exchange and release. Some of that's the body just growing. And you know, people see this and they go, oh, man, they're saying he's not as quick. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is it's not what it was, but it can get there. He's 18 or whatever he is. You know, they're not going to be a done project until they're 24, 25, 26 years old. So at 24, let's see where he's at. But he just put the weight on. He just put the strength on. The body is kind of learning to adapt to it. I think the quickness is going to come back, and then you're going to see that plus catch throw opportunity. It's just a matter of kind of, is it going to happen in the next 3 months or the next 9 months? So one more guy I wanted to go through, and it's a guy that, you know, quite honestly, you know, I've had a lot of discussion with about where his prospect is, because you look at him and it's the prototypical. He's long, he's lean, he moves with ease, there's fluidity. He's an elite defender for his age, you know, and for me, I would say the bat's not there. The bat's not there. You know, the bat's got to come. The bat speed's not there. You know, his arms hang down to his legs or to his knees. And so, you know, long arm guys take a little bit of time for that to develop. We thought this would come. But in terms of doing rankings and things like that, there's some risk when, you know, there's some things you go, it's got to go though. You know, we got to see it. And so now let's talk about, let's see if I got him up. Oh, we're going to stop sharing. We're going to start sharing now. So I'm going to pull up Reggie Marshall III. Your initial thoughts on Reggie's day?
Well, I've had the benefit, you know, I'm usually the BP guy at a lot of events.
Reggie
I
Marshall.
threw to him at the border battle. And, you know, it's kind of what we talked about, the long arms, kind of lacking some bat speed, but, you know, he finds a lot of barrels. That changed. And I don't know when it changed, but I think he was the first person I mentioned to you. I said, this looks different than what it did 3 months ago. Yeah. Like, there were some balls he could just get to, he could whip. You know, balls were actually coming off the barrel with some pace. Like, it just was a different guy than what I've been used to. And, you know, I'm happy for him. Like, I know he works so hard on these things, you know, and I'm not gonna lie, being a guy that's known as a defensive guy probably ain't the most fun thing. Like, you know, I know he's got an absolute hand cannon, and he has strides that are unmatched. Like, them things are like 20 feet every time he runs. But, like, that day, it was fun to watch that man hit because it was clicking.
We know he's working. You know, obviously we have a relationship with his dad, and his dad's done some stuff with us, but we know he's working, and he's been like that since he was very young. I remember going and doing a scout day at Fayetteville Tech. He's running around there as like a 12 or 13-year-old, and it was pretty evident he was the best defender on the field when he was 12 or 13, and Fayetteville Tech was okay. They didn't continue to get better, but they were okay, and he was a better defender than what they had. And it's not a knock on their guys, and you're just trying to go, okay, I think it's going to come. I think it's going to come, but it's got to come. And to see the hard work starting to pay off. But you look at the build too, you know, high-waisted, skinny. I don't know. He's not a prototypical guy you go, hey, we're just going to add on pounds. He's going to handle it. There's going to be a point there where that body doesn't handle, you know, 30, 40, 50 pounds or whatever it is. But he's still got room to add on weight right now. And with the swing and the way it's working, the weight's going to transfer pretty quickly to production. So I thought he was a big winner out of the day. Again, a ton of guys there that really did a good job. And the pro guys, we appreciate those guys being there. I'm not going to say we hope, we know that was a beneficial day for them. You know, there were some guys, maybe they just marked them off, don't have to go see them, but that's part of the deal. And then there were some guys going, hey, I got to go in and really bear down on that guy. And then there's some guys, hey, I can just check back in. At some point, I'm going to pop in, just make sure it hadn't gone up to the next level. But a really, really good day. And, you know, one of the events that you and I really look forward to. The information's up on the website. Zach and I are putting together, you know, the quick hitters are out. The stat releases are going to be starting to roll out today, tonight, tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday. That stuff's coming. We got more and more and more video coming from that. Zach, real quick, a piece of advice for anybody looking to get to the ProCase next year. You know, what is it we're looking for that gets guys to that level?
Here's the thing. Numbers will always turn heads, but the production really matters. And, like, there's going to be a time where you have to blend both, because there's going to be guys that will be like, hey, I hit 500 in high school. I was a conference player of the year. Why am I not that guy? And a lot of the reason is probably the same as if we're not getting recruited by a high-level school. Like, you're a talented guy, but sometimes we just have to be able to take that next jump. So numbers and production have to match. If you're a guy that produces, you got to focus on some of your numbers. Like, listen, if you're a player of the year and you're 85, listen, great. That means you know how to pitch. Your money, you're probably not a ProCase guy. If you're a guy that's 98 and walks everybody, you might get invited, but more than likely you're probably not making it because you don't produce. So it's that fine line of honing a craft that you're able to produce with.
Well said. Well said. Well, another great podcast. I appreciate you jumping on. I know we're scurrying about because we got 260 kids from this past weekend. We got more players to evaluate this weekend. We're trying to get rankings published. We're trying to get the Power 25s coming. I wonder who's going to be number one. And we may have talked about them a little bit today. I wonder. But that's going to come soon. High school previews are rolling out. Go to the website, www.prepbaseball.com. Go to North Carolina, hit the news tab, look and see everything we're doing. If you like what we're doing here, subscribe, like. I think I'm supposed to say that by law on YouTube. For Zach Borowski, Aaron Reimer, Kyle Cadlub, I'm Brandon Hall. We'll see you at the field.